Okay. So what details can we add to this level? I think it's got enough flowers and stuff, so we might just move on to the next one. Boom, 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 boom. So, I've entered the night levels. Interesting. Just gotta make sure all this background stuff lines up correctly. Just gotta make sure. Really should have been slightly more careful when I just initially did all this to begin with, but alas, we did not. And now we're here. Okay, so we're gonna bring this down because it doesn't really make sense for there to be spikes on the floor. Just gonna what does that camera collider do right now? So he ends up dying about right here. So we can actually, yeah, get rid of those spikes because we don't need that many spike objects. We can just instead take an out of bounds object which kills the player on impact. Duplicate it and rotate it and bring it down. That way we just kill the player on impact. What programs do you use and what language did you build this? I am using the Unity engine, which in my opinion is the best game engine for beginners, and the Unity engine uses C# as its programming language, so C# in Unity. I highly recommend using Unity for a beginner. I've tried over the years to do game development with using other engines, and it didn't work out as well when I did it using Unity. So thanks for the question. Are you new to programming, Itzbill? Or are you already a novice? Because if you know other languages, C# isn't that hard. It's actually a really good language to learn, too, because of, yeah, especially Unity. Just starting out, kind of. Well, in my opinion, you really want to get a good grasp on how programming works. And a good way to do that, I think, is to start with the tutorials online. And you could watch live streams like this too. And just get, get familiarized with the Unity editor. Get familiarized with programming and stuff. And the one trap you can fall into, though, is you stick too closely to the tutorials, and that's where I was for a long time. where I followed the tutorials too much, and at a certain point you should be like starting to think for yourself. So for an example, I should put on some more different music. So for example, Unity platformer. Where was it? Yeah. So this game is actually based off of initially. I removed all the code since then, but the code I initially used when prototyping this game came from this like crappy little tutorial. But once I got around to like I think episode 5, I kind of just went off on my own. And that's kind of what you got to learn to do, is to like follow the tutorials enough, but not enough so you're totally relying on them. What about Unreal Engine? Unreal Engine's good. It uses a programming language called C++ though, which is a bit more difficult to learn than C#. How did I learn C#? Books. Programming from a book, learning how to program from a book isn't a bad idea. There are plenty of ways to learn how to program. I am going to school for computer science. Computer science is my major in college, and I learned Java and Python in college. And C# is very, very similar to Java. So I was able to just transfer those skills from Java over to C# pretty quickly. And that's the nice thing about programming languages, is that they all basically follow the same rules. So if you learn one, you can figure out the other ones relatively quickly. Yeah. So that's kind of nice. If you want to learn it on your own, though, there's like plenty of free tutorials online. Brackeys has a lot of good tutorials that I've used. There's plenty of good game dev YouTubers out there, and there are Unity courses or Udemy courses out there too on how to like program in C# and how to make games in C#. I would honestly like avoid having to pay for anything. Like this game that you're seeing right here, I was able to make with a budget of $0. I just used assets and stuff from online and stuff that was in public domain, and I wrote all the code myself, or I borrowed code that was in public domain, and optimized it like a shit ton. But yeah, they're learning Unity in C# is it's easier than it's ever been. So how much time did this game took you, or is it still building? The game's pretty much done. I have a couple. I'm kind of just running through a couple of final like tests. I'm adding some like additional things just to like make it look nicer. Like right now, I'm like adding the level design at the beginning of the game is a bit different from the level design at the end of the game, so I'm trying to just like mesh everything to make it work. I started I think I started working on the game around May of last year, but I've been like, honestly, most of that time in development was like 2 months of me just like grinding during the summer because I had nothing better to do. And then after that, I got a job and I kind of had to ease off a little bit, but then I came back. So it's like, I guess it just depends. Like, I've been technically working on it for almost a year now, but it's just been like, there's been swoops of time when I've been like working on it a lot, and then times I've only been able to work on it for like a couple hours a week. But I try to make time to work on it a couple hours a week. In fact, I'd probably be done by now, but I'm waiting for my friend to finish making the music for it. Because I hired him out to do the music, so, and he's almost done. So we're probably gonna shoot for like a May release. Was it easy to build relatively? I got tripped up on a lot of parts that were like the parts you thought would be hard weren't actually that hard, and the parts that actually were hard were things you didn't expect. So like making my own menu system, that was probably honestly the hardest part, is just making the menus, because I wanted this menu system to work on mobile, using a gamepad and using keyboard and mouse, and like just the logistics of having to do that was just really hard for me. I eventually got it to basically work though, but the platformer character itself, that was about like 2 months worth of prototyping and level design. I kind of built out the mechanics of the game kind of procedurally, so like I started with like saws, and then I moved on to moving saws that would rotate, and then I moved on to platforms that like go back and forth and stuff. So like I kind of, the way I designed the game made it easier for me to build it in a way. So it's kind of interesting how it turned out. I don't know if I would get into game development because it's easy though. Because it's just a lot of time, right? You have to actually like put time into it. It's like anything in life. I guess you could say. Did you need something more than basic math to do the physics of the game? Having a little bit, really, to get into programming, all you really need to know is like basic algebra. Like the idea that like x equals 5, so what is 3 plus x? And if you know what 3 plus x is, it's 8. Spoiler alert. But if you know 3 plus x is 8, if x is assigned the value of 5, you can do programming. Like, this shit ain't that hard. it's actually pretty basic. In terms of like making the game itself, having a basic understanding of some physics things was not that really important. Like, I've never taken a physics class, but I figured this shit out, so I mean, it can't be that hard. Like, you have to use these things called vectors, which I didn't really understand at first, but then I just, you know, I figured it out through a tutorial, kind of. So and a vector basically is just an arrow. So you're basically just programming what an arrow is. I thought you would need calculus to build games the correct way. Calculus will help. I'm sure it'll help. I mean, I've never taken the derivative or antiderivative of anything while programming games. So, yeah. Don't need that part of calculus, at least. Yeah, as long as you understand algebra, you can program, in my opinion. And there's kind of like two parts of game development, right? There's like there's learning how to use C#, and there's how to use like Unity alongside C#. And it's kind of cool because you can learn both at the same time, and you can figure out how everything kind of works. because Unity is like a framework you can use within C#, and that's how you make the scripts and stuff. Let me pull out a script real quick. Or actually, maybe I shouldn't. It might scare you. If and when you come across issues while building it, you were Googling the questions, am I right? Like you wouldn't open a book for a small issue, or not. Oh yeah, you definitely Google the answers. Hell yeah. If you were to open a book to try to find the answers, it wouldn't be in there. They don't really. I mean, they have books for Unity, but they're by their very nature, they're pretty outdated. The most important thing to be able to look up in Google, and any software developer will tell you this, is the manual, the documentation. This explains every single part of the engine. Scripting. So this is all about the programming and stuff. So if you want to manipulate something in Unity, you can pretty much find you can find something about it on here. And also Unity tutorials. Unity themselves have like all these tutorials based off of like beginners, and that's really helpful too. Like they have the scripting series, so if you want to learn C# along with Unity, they actually teach you in this like sort of like script thing. Well, I think it's like more than this. They have like a whole series on scripting. But that's why I like Unity, is because they have a lot of resources just available to people. Yeah, so here's some more if statements. I think there's like a more organized version of this somewhere. Scripting. They've changed the website a little bit since I started. Hey, that's some nice quality time I'll spend during my quarantine. Yeah. And like, trust me, like don't read like all like if you're gonna go out and like read. Hey, hello, Parasite. What's up? If you're gonna go out there and read like all this documentation, right? It's just gonna like dissuade you from starting. So like in my opinion, don't just start reading the entire manual. Like jump in. Like do a couple of YouTube tutorials, jump in. Don't have like a dead set like idea of what your game's gonna be right away. And if you do, like make sure that idea is like dead simple. Like honestly, like the best first game project you can do is recreate an already existing game almost. Because like I think the first game I ever made was like outside of tutorials and like just working on my own. I think the first game I made was Pong. I just made Pong again. And then I got familiar with the Unity editor, and then I could start making my game. And then basically my the first 2 months of development I spent just like making level 1. just like making sure I got everything working with the player controller and stuff. Slide that back in there. Alright. Alright, so then we bring this down. Yeah, don't read through all the documentation, bro. Like, that's a bad idea. Random question: will we be seeing it on like Steam or a site, your game, or is it a personal project? Yeah, I plan to launch on Steam. Oh, I also plan to do Google Play Store too. So I'll try to make it mobile and on Steam. Because like the initial idea for this game was I wanted to make a resume project. So I could like point to something on my resume and be like, I started this project start to finish and I made something and I published it, right? And the idea is, I was like, well, maybe I'll try a mobile game because the requirements for making a mobile game are much simpler and less demanding. Like, people expect much more out of like a menu system and an actual PC release, right? But if it's just a port of a mobile game, most people don't care. Like, in mobile games, there's not really a lot that are good, right? And I was just like, maybe if I just put something out on the Play Store that's like good. I don't know. Like, because there's a lot of stuff that's just not very good that's on the Play Store, unfortunately. So do you need a contract with them or agree to some terms of service? I assume. I actually haven't gone that far. I assume you just like basically fill out a form and make an account. Like hundreds of things are published on the Play Store all the time, so I assume it isn't that hard to really do. It's actually a good kind of like indicator in life, is just like, are a lot of people doing this thing? Yes. Oh, well, it's probably not that hard to do. Under what name will it be published, or is it too early? Okay, so the working title for a while has been The Fantastic Adventure of Monosword Grape, and I kind of like that because it's a mouthful. And like that's the whole like idea of the character, is he's like he's a grape with a top hat and a monocle, right? Can't really see it that well, but he's a grape with a top hat and a monocle. And I thought that would be kind of cool, but I'm thinking about changing the title to just Great Grape Game, because it has that alliteration too. It would probably be either one of those. Is it better to learn C language before try to develop a game, or can I learn C during development? The thing with learning programming, by the way, you're going to want to learn C#, not C. Very different languages. It's kind of a misleading name they gave C#, because it's not like C really that much at all. But C language before, you can learn it while you're doing it. I mean, yeah, I think you could learn C# while you're programming development. You might have to, you're gonna have to like understand that you're gonna have to stop a little bit every once in a while to just be like, okay, I need to understand in order to continue and do what I want to do. I have to like go research some more, right? But once you get to that point, your development process will be a little slower, but it would be probably, actually, you know, it'll probably take the same amount of time, because you'll just spend the same amount of time you would spend not developing. The best way to learn programming is to have a project. All right, so let's test this out. If you have a project, it incentivizes you to come back. That's a huge deal. Because you want to continuously be coming back for in order to learn, right? So. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? And also another thing I think everybody should keep into account if they're like, once you get involved with starting game dev, is that like most games have like teams of multiple people, right? So like very few games like actually have like one person making it, right? So if you're able to like just make something slightly good as like a singular person, that's actually kind of amazing, because very few games are made by like single people. Like that almost never happens. Like you hear like, oh, Minecraft was made by Notch, he's a single guy, but like by the time Minecraft became popular, he had like a team of 5 people. So like, yeah, that's another thing to take into account while you're learning, is just be like, you know, I'm doing this alone, things are going to be slower, you know, than you think. Because game development, you have to like do a lot of the same things at this. Did I draw the graphics? No. Well, yes and no. Right, so I drew the player character, I drew this Peanuts, I drew this banana. I think I did some work on the saws in this crate, but like the grass and stuff and the spikes I didn't do. Well, for example, I customized a lot of stuff. So these clouds were initially white, but I made them gray because it's nighttime, right? And like these spikes, I added, when you run into them, it makes like a purple, like juice, right? Grape juice. When you run into spikes, I added that. But like the initial stuff itself, like every time you see on that saw, it's purple because I ran into it. I added that, but like the initial stuff I actually got from the Unity Asset Store. Is C# used a lot, or just for game development? Oh, it's used a lot. And I wouldn't worry about yeah, and also like if you learn C# and you end up that the game for whatever reason doesn't like go through, uh, I wouldn't worry about it too much, because like you can just use that skill and transfer it to something else. Like Microsoft programs everything like in C# these days. It seems like, and if you know C#, you can pick up Java in like a day. So and then a lot of stuff uses Java. So really, like, don't focus so much on like the usefulness of C#. Of course, it's useful in making games in this specific case, but learning programming is the skill. Like, that's the skill. Programming as a whole. Because like once you know one language really well, you can extrapolate from there and learn other languages pretty quickly. Like I don't really remember much of Python at all, but give me like 4 hours, I could probably muster together a Python program. Did I do it in Photoshop? I used Photoshop. You can use free tools like GIMP though. Thoughts about languages like Swift, Elixir? I've never heard of Elixir. I'll look that up. Elixir kind of looks interesting. I haven't really heard of Elixir that much, but Swift is pretty much exclusively for programming stuff on Apple. Swift, I'm pretty sure it's developed and maintained by Apple. Yeah, it's a language developed by Apple for iOS, iPad, and Mac. So basically, if you want to write stuff for Apple, make Apple apps and stuff. Do you think this game could be made on a web page using JavaScript, perhaps? Yeah. Like played there? Yeah, that's actually a possibility. You can, even in the Unity engine, this is the nice thing about Unity, is because it basically makes the whole process a lot easier. Because it's, so you can go into the build settings. Right now I'm building for Android, right? But you can build an HTML5 game that you would play in the browser right here. You could also port it to Xbox One, PC, PS4, and like you have to make some modifications to the game, but it's a lot easier to port games than it was in like the 90s and the early 2000s even. I ask questions because I think I have good bases on Python, but I know it is the easier language and I want to discover a new one. Does C# run better for games than Python? Python, like, programming games in Python just isn't, well, I guess, in my opinion, you should just stick with a pre-made engine. Something like Godot, Unity, or Unreal. I recommend Unity, especially if you're just starting out. And Unity uses C#, so just learn C#. Like, if you're gonna use Python, I don't know if I think Godot supports something kind of like Python, but it's like their own specific type of Python. Generally, I recommend, like, the language you use won't affect the performance that much. And in fact, if you try to code everything from scratch in like a very base level language like C, like you might end up building a bunch of unoptimal systems that make your game slower just because you wrote it instead of some expert, right? So I'd recommend sticking with like a pre-built engine, almost like Unity or Unreal if you're starting out. And then if you want to make your own engine when you're like experienced game developer, go for it then. But game development noobs such as myself are much better suited using Unity. You can, yeah. So you can build games independently. You can, but the process is going to be a lot longer, and you're going to do a lot of stuff. You're going to repeat a lot of steps. Like a really good quote that I read once was something along the lines of, if you really like building game engines, build your own game engine. But if you really like making games, use Unity or Unreal, basically. Like if you're really interested in like compiler optimization and stuff like that, you can build your own engine, right? But you're gonna be spending like a long time building your own engine, and then you're gonna like want to do something in game development for your game, and then you'll have to add that feature into your engine just so you can do that, and it'll take a long time. And you'll definitely have to learn how to do a lot of the complicated physics stuff if you build your own engine, for sure. The nice thing about Unity, though, is that it brings the level of abstraction, so to say, so noobs who like us can use it, basically. Is it true that most developers should use GitHub? Yeah. If you want to get a job in software development, they care a lot about your GitHub stuff. I haven't really posted anything on GitHub. Like, it's probably pretty bad, but I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not a good example. I'll start posting stuff once I finish this game. I'll throw out all the code on GitHub, and I'll probably start contributing to like open source projects or something. But yeah, if you contribute a lot on GitHub, it looks really good on your resume. Well, not your resume, but like it just looks good as like an applicant. cat really out here calling me out, not having my GitHub up to date. Will you release the alpha version first while working more to it until you get the full game done? Something like Baldi's Basics, I suppose? Are you asking me, or are you asking, like, is that a strategy I would recommend? Because, like, the game's almost done. So, like, if I released an alpha version now, it would just be, like, stuff I did, like, 3 months ago. Right? Like, it wouldn't be much point in releasing alpha right now. I mean, see a Parasite. Are you gonna make the same thing? Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess I answered your question. It's pretty cool. We got like 3 concurrent viewers right now. So we can see it soon enough on Steam. Yeah. Yeah, give it like, once we get the music done, I mean, we're pretty much done with the game. So you'll see it, yeah, pretty soon. Like, it's, like, I don't want to, like, hype my game up. Well, actually, like, I do, because I want people to play it, but, like, it's not that great. Like, it's like good for, like, oh, this is the first game someone's published. You know what I mean? Like, also, the game is, like, really hard, so, like, it's, like, basically, like, if you've ever played Super Meat Boy, it's kind of like that. I based it up, like, very loosely on that, or not very loosely, very closely on that, because I was like, yeah, sure, I'll type it out. Okay, so main menu. Okay, so it's right now the title is The Fantastic Adventure of Monsieur. Great. Right? That's the working title. And I might publish it under this name. So I'm debating is one of those two. Okay. Here we go. drop this down a little bit. Because I feel like it makes more sense for him to just fall to a pit of death. Right? Than like, fall into like a bunch of spikes. That seems like too intentional. Like I want the environment to kill him more so than a bunch of like pre-placed spikes to kill him. That's kind of like the design language I used in like the other half of the game. So I'm trying to update the beginning of the game to make sure the other half of the game works. If you chose the Monosaur, you could place the bananas with baguettes. Yeah, I could. Right now, like the whole thing I got going on right now is the grape, peanut butter, and banana thing. But it actually might make more sense to do it. I don't know. Grape, peanut butter, banana, because it's like the whole PB&J thing. Peanut butter jelly. Oh, we went through that entire 40-minute playlist. That's kind of cool. We gaming. We gaming. You know better than me, but what if you were to add particles when the grape was walking, like juice coming out or something? That was an idea I had. But the thing is smartphones do not like particle effects, and I want this to run on as many phones as possible. And I already had particle effects when later in the game when I'm doing like snow and rain effects. And that was already kind of stressing the phone out. So I was just like, I might have to stop it there. You know what I'm saying? If I was just to be like, oh, I'm making this exclusively for like PC, that would open up like a lot of like lighting effects I could do. Yeah. Imagine if I put like actual literal Easter eggs in the game. Sound effects except music? Yeah, I have sound effects. I just haven't muted right now because I'd much rather listen to this lo-fi stuff. Like, I mean, I've heard the sound effects to my own game like several times over at this point, so it kind of gets old. But yeah, there'll definitely be sound effects. I'll promise you that. Oh. Oh. Found a bug. Found a bug. What was the bug? It's the grid. This is a thing Unity does sometimes. Put the ground there and then doesn't delete itself when you're done. Just has this thin layer of green. And that's a collider. So how do we get rid of that? Well, we just add more and then get rid of that. Pretty much. This is the only way to... Just delete the collider. There we go. Easy peasy. I've been live for about an hour. It's kind of crazy. I think I should bring this down. Maybe I shouldn't play my hand there yet. What's your stream schedule? Will it be on and off after quarantine? My stream schedule. Bro, this is like my first day streaming. I don't really have a schedule yet. I mean, of course you could just follow me and hit the notifications and you'll always see me. I'm planning on streaming a lot during the quarantine though. Like, I work from home and like my job is pretty much me just sitting, you know, sitting around waiting for problems to happen. Like, I just pretty much watch the ticket system and wait for problems to show up. So like, I could feasibly stream during that time too. So I'll probably be streaming a lot during this quarantine. Okay, so it's looking generally pretty good. I think I should add another background layer. Just to add something, some must. I'll make this darker. Even darker than the previous background. Because we don't have real lighting effects, so what do? We just make sprites darker to simulate darkness. That's pretty much what we do. Simulate a lack of light. Could add trees inside the gaps, or ores. Yeah. I was thinking about adding rocks inside there too, but they didn't quite fit the way I wanted them to. Oh, just took a long time to update. There we go. Ores. Might be onto some of those ores. Flowers are sakura trees in the background so we can attract them females, am I right? Bro, you got me fucked up. You coming to the wrong stream if you think we're attracting females here. Bruh. There are a lot of things that I would describe as sexy and appealing. Game development, not particularly one of them. I mean, Like maybe if you're a guy, that would be you'd be like really into it. It'd be like, you're a girl and you make games. But like, where are we looking? I had some flowers around here. Where are my flowers? Here they are. Okay. So I need to actually bump up the size of this flower. It can be super low resolution because it really doesn't matter. How dark should it be? $176. That was what I chose as my number. Let's put it actually over here. I'll just save that as a prefab. Prefabs are pretty cool because they're basically like, they're pre-made objects. So like if I want to add a bush, I'll just drag it out right there and boom, we got our bush. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Just make sure. Oh. That moment when you suck at your own game. Oh. Looks good. Looks like I calculated that depth value correctly. Let's throw a flower here. Let's throw a flower there. Now let's go add some rocks. Let's add some rocks. Or I could paint some lighter blue on top of the crest to see like it's almost lighter blue on the top of the grass. Why would the grass be blue? That's my question to you. On the sky. Confused what you're saying, but like 1 pixel above the grass. You won't be able to see 1 pixel. Like, confused kind of what your idea is here. Okay. But like, honestly, it's Bill, if you're gonna be making a game, this is the fun part. right? So like the beginning is a lot of coding and figuring shit out. Like the last couple months, I haven't really done that much coding because I've like implemented all the systems I wanted to. Now it's just me just drawing levels and like adding rocks. So like game development, it has like you're not always coding all the time. That's something to keep it into account, right? Half the sky's half dark blue and half is orange red. Oh, so you're saying do like transition levels so it's not immediately from like light to dark, kind of. Because then like around level 5, you go from like completely light to just level 6 is dark. I kind of see what you're saying. The thing is though, is this background, even though I have it set up so it's repeating, this is a very large image, right? So like, let me look at, where'd I put it? Background PNG, it's in here, sky dark. Oh, I did compress the fuck out of it, so it's not that bad. It's less, it's about a fifth of a meg. I really compressed a lot of this. So the thing is if I was going to add sunset to like a couple levels and make that like smoother transition, I would have to do that for at least like 4 more times. So I would have to be able to do that about 4 more times. I don't know if I would be able to uniquely pull that off. Because even in the winter level, actually, the winter level's like over here, right? No. Like I still have the same sky, right? It's not like I have a winter sky. It's just like the summer sky, but it's like wintry, sort of. Let's add some grass. Oh, cool. Yeah, a cool thing about game development, well, when I'm limiting myself personally just so I can hit like the 70, because all games on the Play Store for Google on Android have to be under like 100 megs or something, right? And I want to try to be like even below that, so I'm setting limits for myself with what the size of assets can be, and I think that's a good practice to kind of partake in, is to try to limit uh, limit the resources you have to work with. That's another cool thing about developing for mobile. Also, it's good for your first game because, I mean, you won't have to implement as much stuff. That's one way of looking at it. What's up, Desed? How you doing? Where was that grass? You know Java? Sweet. It's a great language to know. Learning C# after you know Java is very, it's a lot easier. If you wanted to make a game. Oh, you know C# too? Epic. Do you usually stream around the same time? This is my first day streaming. So I don't really have like a schedule yet. I could stream like around the same time again. I don't know. I guess if I wanted to reach the most people, it would make sense to do it like either like 12 p.m. Eastern time, or it would be around that, because then I could catch people in the UK going to sleep and people in the West Coast waking up, because I live in the East Coast. Represent. Boop, boop. But you type all codes. Yeah, I wrote pretty much all the code in my game. There were some plugins that were for free on the Unity Asset Store that I also used, but like, I mean, because it's, in my opinion, if you like, yeah, it's 2 a.m. for you. In my opinion, yeah, you shouldn't shy away from using pre-used assets, especially when you're making like your first game, because it's like, what's the point? Like, you're making things harder intentionally, and it's like you're not even paying for a way out. Like, these are free, like it's free to use. So but if you can code something yourself, and there's nothing out there, I mean, like, you should try it. And there's nothing out there for free, you should try to implement it yourself before looking for a paid solution. I bought $0 of assets for this game. In fact, I did buy one asset, but I never ended up using it. So it didn't fit in the project, so I just never used it. Did I use food? What's that? Object-oriented design? Kind of, yeah. Like, in places where it made sense to use it. So, for example, uh, I had saw, like these saw guns, and basically it made sense whenever it shot a saw bullet to create a saw bullet object, right? So I had a class for saw bullet, and then I was able to pull the objects to make my code more efficient, right? Because you want to do, that's a technique, object pooling, right? And then I was just able to recycle the same bullets because they're the same object over and over again. This is where we can only see you, right? Except if you have other social media. Yeah, I'm not really on other social media. I mean, I'm on Instagram if you want to follow me on Instagram. I have some weird shit on my Instagram. But, like, I won't post about anything, like, Twitch related on there. Like, I was on Twitter for a while, but, like, Twitter is just, like, kind of toxic. Like, I never wrote anything toxic, but I read a lot of stuff that was toxic, and I was just like, I gotta get out of here. Like, there's not really a good, like, social media platform to use right now. Oh, I'm on Discord. Wanna add me on Discord? How long did it take to write the codes? There's my Discord username, by the way. Oh, it just copied two things? That was weird. Something tells me you secretly have Tinder. JK, JK. I actually used Tinder for like a month, and I just kind of was like, this isn't going anywhere. Gave up. How long did it take to write the codes? I'll go back to your question. Well, you never, I didn't really stop for like, it took me about 2 weeks to get like a prototype down, and then I fleshed out that prototype over the course of like 2 months. And then I just kind of kept continuously adding it to that over time. So I'm about a year into development now, and I'm almost done. So for the first game, this is great. Thanks. I have a TikTok. Bro, TikTok is like, oh my gosh. There's some really smart people on there. Very smart people. Oh, the key to keeping it simple was just, it was that the key was to keep it simple. That's how I managed to write all the code for it. Alright, I think we're good on this level for now. Might come back and work on it a bit later, but for now, I think we can move on. How's your guys' quarantine going? How you keeping busy? Will you make an official Discord server for the game? Quite boring is mine. Actually, you know what? I used to run a podcast with my friend who is a YouTuber. And by YouTuber, I mean, like, he has like 300 subs. We don't do the podcast anymore, but I'll just send you guys that server, and then that server you can talk to us. You know, direct access to me, at least. Alright, here's the link to a Discord server. This is just like, if you're interested in like creating stuff or like watching this stream, I guess, you can join that. And that'll be our Discord server. I was recently studying for midterms too. So if like you're interested in like study streams, I was doing that earlier. Alright. Oh yeah, one of the interesting things, this is a good lesson about how to not overcomplicate your code, right? So this banana, when you run the game, it bobs up and down, right? It's a little bit kind of like faded because it's already been collected, and that's how you signal to the player it's already been collected. But the script I use to get this to bob up and down is so stupid. Like it's like, it's not stupid, it's overcomplicated in my opinion. Like, so what I did, this is like over engineering to the max, right? Alright, so you just run it update, and then you move the transform position based off of cosine. It's like you know how like you learn in math, like cosine is an alternating wave, right? So like you kind of just manipulate that cosine, but you just input the time, so it just bounces up and down, and you times that by the strength you want it to be. So in this case, it's 0.3. It's just some arbitrary value. But what you could have really just done is just use the Unity animator and just animated it going up and down. But I didn't know how to use the animator when I started, so I just scripted it. Where did you learn C Sharp? Um, YouTube. Like I own a C Sharp book. It's called the where is it? The C Sharp Yellow Book by Rob Miles. I started this, never finished. Never finished. And what I did is I just looked up tutorials on YouTube and figured it out. Because like I already knew Java. So it was like, how hard could this be, right? Okay. I don't know who joined the Discord server, but I just gave you ability to like chat if you want. Java versus C Sharp. Both are pretty good languages, right? Like I haven't really gotten too involved in like the whole like language versus other programming language thing. Like I know there's like a huge debate. It's like, oh, should you use C or C++ for certain things, and then just as long as what you use isn't like super slow. We ain't out here trying to like develop apps with Scratch. That was one thing that was really dumb I had to learn in high school. Scratch. It's like maybe if you're like 5, it's a good programming language, but like don't teach people how to use Scratch. Just start with Python or something. Alright, let's test this out. Hey. Oh. The nice thing about this is I actually haven't touched my game in a while, so I know how, like I'm getting, like I've lost some of my experience playing it. So it's almost like I get to feel like a noob playing my own game. You started with C? Dude, I've learned C. It's not a fun language. Especially when your teacher wants you to do crazy crap like pointer arithmetic. Bruh. recently, for one of my assignments, I had to write two programs in Intel assembly language. And, yeah, that was rough. Yeah, no PC on quarantine. That's death with extra steps. Yeah, I really just, I want to, will it be for Android though? Yes. Yes. In fact, until I can get Mac to run Xcode on, it will pretty much be only for Android and Steam. Or, right? So like, because like Google, I think like you have to they charge you like $25 to throw your app on their store, right? $25 one-time fee. Like iOS, I think it's like $100 a year. Like it's some crazy number. And really, like Apple real estate isn't even that great because, I mean, when you think about it, more people own Android phones. So C good for beginner. Are you sure about that though? iOS needs so much time to accept. Yeah, you're probably right too. They probably, because they have it's the walled garden, right? iOS is weak. See, Bill, you and I are on the same page here. Muy weak. Well, to be honest with you, how much line you type, like how many lines of code the project is, I don't know. Depends what you like classify as a line of code, right? Duh, I don't have a strict count. I can show you my longest script though. So, okay. I'll show you my longest script. I think my longest script is my player character. This is originally based on a Ninja controller script I got from the Unity Asset Store. That was 300 lines long. Now it's like 1,000 lines, just exactly 1,100 lines. So I added a lot to it to get it actually working as like a reasonable thing. It's okay. You shouldn't even have like that much code in one script. Like you're supposed to, like, that's the point of like object-oriented programming and all that stuff, is so you don't have too much code in one place. Really, I could have done a lot of things differently. What takes longer to code? Game physics, etc. I only know about game physics. I'm a noob. Well, for me, like coding the game physics was a lot of just like playing around with numbers and like vectors and stuff and seeing what worked and like gave me the effect I wanted. Menus, a lot of that was just learning how like Unity wants things to work. Because Unity has like these button objects and they need to be used in a specific way. Like if you try to use like a drop down with like a controller, it just doesn't really work out of the box. You have to like do some coding. Notice how like none of it's commented. I really should have commented my code more. Like I know what it does, but like I should have commented it more for sure. Like I'm gonna pull up a school project I did recently. This is the commenting I had to do for my code for class. All that green. You see all this green? This is my intro comment. Keep going? What do you mean? Like keep working? I have no intention of stopping. Oh, we ran out of music. Let's throw on some more music. You have i7? Question mark? No. Bro, we got Ryzen 5. Ryzen 5. We don't need an i7. Six cores, 12 threads, baby. Movement dashes or backflips, whatever it would be. 16 RAM? Bruh. Look, I'm streaming and doing game development right now. 26% utilized. Dude, Ryzen's epic. And this is like first gen. This is first gen Ryzen. 24 gigs RAM. And this is running at like... Oh, this is slow speed. I need to fix that. Pretty sure that's wrong. There's no way it's running that slow. Oh yeah, and if you wanted to know, RX 580. Staple GPU. It's a 1600, not a 2600. So if you were gonna buy a 1600 right now, I don't think you can buy them new. You can get, oh, here it is. Yeah, you can't buy them new right now. Let's go to eBay. So about $100. Video card RX 580. About $100. If you're just doing 1080p, dude, you're just get a 580, bro. It's fine. Works great. And in fact, you could probably get like there's this thing called 1600 AF, which is even better than the 1600, I think. Oh, it's $85 new. What a value. What a value. PC hardware is just so cool. It's kind of an interesting decision I made. Just have two little... Dude, we have the same GPU and CPU on the PC, which I will be buying. Do you have a Tomahawk B450 motherboard? I have a B350 Asus Prime. So that was like... So I assume Tomahawk is MSI. But like the motherboard doesn't really matter. Like, let's be real. When it comes to like PC building, like you want the motherboard that works. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need anything fancy. Like overclocking support and it works. Alright, I'm gonna play through this level just to show you guys what's up. Alright. You must need much RAM for Unity. Well, it depends on the game you're developing. Unity does have an overhead, but they've optimized it a lot, so it doesn't take as much as you would think. So right now, you got to take into account I'm streaming, right? And I was using, I think I was using like 8 gigs earlier. When I was just streaming and doing homework. And I have like so many tabs open. Like look at all this. Look at all these tabs. I also have Visual Studio running, which is pretty much a staple of Unity. So like, I mean, right now I'm using about 10 gigs. So like, and really, I think you could get by with 16. Depends on the game you're developing, of course, but I think you could get by with 16 gigs. That seems to be like the good like recommended spec for RAM these days. Did I use an app to arrange my ideas? So I have a to-do list called Google Keep. So I have a lot of things going on in here. All right, so like, I have like game fixes. This is what I use to keep track of game development. This is stuff for school mainly. This is games I want to play, so I don't like lose track of what I want to play, like in terms of Steam. Books I want to read, workout routine. I barely look at this, just because I memorized it, my workout routine at this point, not because I'm lazy. And also this is like different projects I have that I want to work on. One of these is a Java programming tutorial. So I don't know, maybe the audience here would have an overlap. There. And the data for the project. What do you mean by the data? Yeah, dude, writing your goals down. Oh man, writing your goals down is so important. Like, that's like productivity like 101. If you want to like get anywhere, write your stuff down, because just writing it down and like looking at that list consistently helps you a lot. You know, I'm not out here trying to be like one of those like social media like productivity guru influencer people, but just from personal experience, having a list of things to do helps me a lot. My thoughts, oh, so like a design document. I threw a lot of my thoughts down on paper, so I don't know if I still have it. Turn on the light. But yeah, I sketched a lot of my level design ideas out on paper. You know, just be like, okay, so a saw is going to be here. Sort of like, yeah, I didn't really keep like a journal, but I had scrap paper that I would just start drawing on. You could nerf, by the way, the jump part. Like the length of the character being on the air while jumping. So the thing is I like, it's inspired to like have like a very fast like momentum sort of like play style. So like the way I design it is like, if you do this, you don't jump as high, but if you go really quickly, you can jump really high if you just like kind of like save up your jumps almost. And like, trust me, like I made sure like people just couldn't find shortcuts, like super easy, like, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, and I forgot to tell you guys, one of the main features of the game is the banana straight up slows down time when you collect it. So like, you click the banana, those saws slow down, and then they speed back up once you die. Okay. All right. why not add a shield? I kind of like the level design I was kind of going for was it's very like based upon like repetitive attempts, right? So like this level, like most of the levels in the game, you can beat under 10 seconds, right? There's very few levels where you can't beat under 10 seconds. So it's more of like just mastering the very specific level, then moving on. In terms of power-ups, I feel like would just be kind of redundant because the levels are so short. So it's like if you pick up a power-up and it's just like, I don't know. And your character already seems like super OP. What if it could pick up power-ups and a shield too? Like it's very inspired by Meat Boy, and like that game had no power-ups, and I respected that decision a lot. I think I'm gonna add some bushes, maybe some trees, like kind of along here, like this background sort of area. How about drop stuff that work against you? But the thing is, what would drop it? Because I already have stuff that like gets thrown at you. That's in the later levels, though. Well, I guess one point of view of looking at it would be that you're already slow, and that when you grab the bananas, you get the speed up, because you're slowed down time for the entire game. Yeah, you need to add trees. Yeah, I'm gonna add some trees. Faux show. It's pretty cool how you guys have shown up. I know we only have like 2 viewers right now, but like that's pretty fucking cool. Not gonna lie. Or maybe, ooh, maybe I put a normal tree there. No? Put like at like -4. Maybe make it a bit smaller to like have the sense of like depth. No, not like that. Alright, Bill, have a good one. Yeah, maybe I'll just do normal trees. Such as this. Not that dark though. I think that looks pretty good from like the game view. Okay. I feel like we should make this a bit lighter. Really make it pop out. Do you use Photoshop? Yeah. Honestly, if I was going to learn how to do it again though, I would use GIMP. GIMP is open source. It's free. 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 Actually, you know what? I did this in an earlier level, and I might repeat it here. So background. Oh, ground. That's what we did earlier. Because we had a chest. Just throw a little chest in there. Just a little cute chest. Just hanging out. It just helped you be much more free with your game. Yeah. Well, I use definitely more than just like the pre-made assets. Like this entire grape character I drew in Photoshop, clearly, as you can tell. Not exactly the smoothest lines. Clearly wasn't done in Illustrator. But from here you can't tell that it's not straight, or especially from the game view. I don't like that. I want to add something there. Maybe that, but with the background. That looks okay. kind of like it. These bushes are starting to kind of look weird. Keep playing in order to find bugs. Oh, trust me, I found found the bugs. You can bet I found a lot of the bugs. Yeah, I'm gonna dull those bushes a bit. Try to click three keys together while you're playing. Oh, I've definitely clicked more than 3. This game was a lot more buggier. Clicking all the keys. Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's hard work. Not really, it's a lot of fun work. That's a lie. How many people are even streaming in basic programming right now? Oh, so there's a couple. I was surprised there wasn't that many people streaming in this category, though. Like, I thought that was a more popular thing on Twitch. Not that much. Three monitors I use? Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the return on investment definitely begins to drop after 2, but 3 is fun. That is certain. 3 is fun. Especially if you're Twitch streaming, 3 is fun. I potentially have the ability to go up to 4, and I have another monitor just lying around, so I might set that up. Thing is once you upgrade to 4, you kind of have to like pretty much need a stand at that point. You can't just use the normal like default stand. If you add skills to your game, that would That would be great. See, I'm just not sure, like, it really needs that. Like, I guess it's like, yeah, whatever to add, whatever you can do to add longevity. But you really think if it was like doing backflips and stuff, that would help? Like, I just don't I just don't know exactly what the benefit, like you, I'm trying to imagine, if you could combo things together. The thing is like, I'm trying to target mobile. And like, the controls are, like, they need to be dumbed down. And that's not because mobile gamers are dumb. Like, if you get 3 banana, you can make time much more slow. I feel like if you made it that slow, it would kind of get annoying, though. Like, you would, because the whole point of the game, like, you have this timer in the corner, and you want to try to make that timer, like, you want to complete the level as quickly as possible, but if, like, it's going super slow, that would help the timer, but you might, like, have a saw that's in your way, and it just, like, decreases the movement, like, you know, like, the momentum of your, like, run, I guess. I suppose you were speed running. I think there is so hard rounds. Really? Well, I guess that was kind of my intention, in a way. In a sense. The whole point of the game is, like, it can, like, once you beat the game, you could go back and play it very quickly, right? But, like, initially playing the game, it's like fail, 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 succeed. But you didn't waste that much time because the levels are only 10 seconds long. So, like, even though you're constantly dying, the time you get it right, it only took like 10 seconds. So you don't feel like you wasted a bunch of time with each attempt. It's like these games like Dark Souls, right? You like spend like, how long are the boss fights? Like sometimes like 5-10 minutes, and then like you'll die like 6 minutes in or something. And then like you have to wait through that long death animation where you drop to the ground. It's like, you died. And then there's the loading screen. This, when you die, it just wants to be like, so let's load up the level. Oh, you died. Okay, you're back. You know what I mean? It's not like you're not punished for trial and error. Because I always find it really annoying when games punish you for like getting things wrong, I guess. Okay. And like, I guess like some games it's like punishment makes sense because that makes the reward better. But like some of these death animations, it just takes forever. Push my hair back. was gonna get my hair cut, but the quarantine thing happened, so. Or you can do an achievement. So the achievements are so there's kind of like two achievements in a sense. So I'll probably have an achievement for beating the game itself. Yeah. There's your time, your total time, and then there's the amount of bananas you can collect. So there's 41 bananas. Right. And if you collect all the bananas, you'll get achievement. If you get like the time, you need to get the time underneath a certain threshold just to get to the final boss, right? So that'll probably be a part of beating the game itself. .38 with stopping time. Oh yeah. The options menu, I'm actually kind of proud of, because like this doesn't seem like a lot, but you have to realize this is a mobile game. Like being able to reset your progress, having sliders. And stuff, that's a big deal for a mobile game. And in mobile games, you have volume on, volume off. You don't get any of this. Alright, man. Have a good one. Join the Discord if you wanted to, or follow me if you wanted to catch the stream again. But anyways, thank you. Have a good one. Oh, Discord? Let me give you the link. See ya. Alright. Got these holes here. Alright. For those still watching, I think I'm gonna call it. I've been streaming for about 3 hours now. Getting kind of tired. And I also did a study stream. So I'm leave this Discord server link in chat. Feel free to check it out, guys. And that's the stream. So that is Mom's Lasagna, Patrick, signing off.